Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. Arrgh, I be your captain, Charlie, the Professor-esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, welcome back. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who protect the walkers at night. He is Khonshu, and these are the tales of his Moon Knight. As Moon Knight joins the fray, Mark, Steven, and Khonshu must work together to stop Amit. Our director, of course, this week is Mohammed Diab. We've got Jeremy Slater gets our teleplay credit. Danielle Iman gets our story by. Let's see here. Jeremy Slater, of course, gets created for television by. Characters go to Don Perlin and Doug Minuck. We got Doug Minuck is listed as creator. Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada get our teleplay credit. And hardest working person in show business, Danielle Iman. We liked her so nice. She is so nice. We listed her twice, is our staff writer. All right.
The staff writer and the credit for the story.
Yeah, she works her little butt off, so well, good for her. You know, she's a hard-working writer. That's why we call her hardest working person in show business.
Yeah, I can imagine, though, if it's the finale of an episode and you wrote it, you want to kind of protect it and make sure it's presented the right way. So you want to, no, I got this. I'll take care of the staff writing for this one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. Yes. So this episode, so let's see here. So we open it up with basically looting the body. We pull Steve out of the water, get the Amit statue out. And, you know, there's a part of me that wonders, like, if they would have crushed it there, what would have happened to Amit? Because it's clear they have to open it in the Temple of Osiris. But part of me is wondering, like, if they had opened it in if they had just broken it there to open it, like, would Amit have gotten out? Would Amit have still just been stuck in the pieces? Just one of these interesting questions that sort of, like, keep me awake at night, you know? Yeah. Obviously, they're following the ritual, but did they have to?
Right. If you destroy, the USB port of your computer, you can't get the data out, Well,
that's one way to look at it. Like, if they don't take it to the Temple of Isis, it's just a hunk of clay, and it's not going to release the spirit. But when you put it into the USB port of the what do we call it, the overvoid,
So, if you were to destroy the artifact, would the power to raise Amit just be transported into something else?
That's the question. Would it go to something else? Would it stay in the pieces? Would you then have to bring those broken pieces there? And then once the pieces are in, then they'll be released? It's an interesting question. It's a logical
seems
question.
Too easy to just turn it into dust.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. and I guess there's the argument that for whatever reason they didn't, Well, they did say they actually kept it because they felt, we can't just destroy Ammit. We may need Ammit at some point in the future.
So all we can do is trap it or keep it trapped.
Yeah, that it's safer just to trap it and to sort of forget where we put her, because even though maybe we fear what she would do if she was released, we don't know the threats that we're going to face. We don't know if we're going to have to face a Celestial or a Thanos or something like that in the near future.
Or they could have made it so that the artifact had some sort of magical protection, that it just was indestructible. I think that would
be it too.
Tie a lot more neat bows.
Yeah, that solves it too. That, like if you accidentally dropped it, it doesn't just shatter.
Right.
One of those unbreakable artifacts. That's smarter.
Yeah.
That's more thought out. I agree, Mozz. That's good. We see Layla in here. She is hiding amongst our murderous lot. Although you gotta admire, comic book rules. I put on the scarf, and there was a guy with a scarf earlier. I think that's still them. I don't know. We're all in baggy clothes. I guess it's the same person. I don't know. But it's very interesting, and of course we get the scene with the police as they're leaving. They're being stopped. Part of me wonders, like, if one of the other Osiris's avatar sent the cops there, because they probably figured something was wrong, and so they knew to cut them off. But of course, Ammit's out. Yeah. So I do wonder if Osiris's priest sent the cops there to intercept Ammit and what's his name? Harrow. Because obviously they do know something's up. They do know something's wrong.
Yeah.
So they probably did send something to sort of, their behind the scenes manipulation to send the cops there. Unfortunately, they were basically sending the cops to their death, because we see that the Judgment Cane now has an axe, which is interesting because now it's not just for weighing. Now it is judge and executioner.
Right. It's for weighing and warring. Well,
yes. Yeah. And, I mean, it always is. It always killed, to be fair.
Right.
But it's like, now the ceremony's gone. Now it's like, now everyone's getting judged at once.
Yeah.
And I think that is the...
And it's almost like the spirit of a crusade, right? It's a holy war you're fighting all of a sudden. I mean, laws are there, but you have to fight for the lawlessness, for the lawfulness of your laws.
Right. And within this, we have Layla being communicated by Tauret, who is possessing the recently vacated corpses of the cops. And I just love every actor in this.
Yeah.
And their ability to do, Tauret's character.
Mannerisms, yeah.
Yes. It's funny because it's not, you think that's easy, but it's not. And you just become this other person that is very much not you. Especially, the cops.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, Mark sent me, and it's just very delightful.
Yeah.
And ridiculous, which I think is half of that's what makes, I think, these things work, is they're going to say, yes, we know it's ridiculous. Doesn't mean it's not real, you know? And that's the thing. It's like, and it's sort of how, like,
it didn't seem that ridiculous to me.
Well, I guess what it is, so here's what I will say. So, and I was having a conversation about this recently with, just about, old cartoons and new cartoons, and specifically older Looney Tunes, and the black and white ones.
Oh, wow.
And, this guy didn't really like them as much. And I said, well, what's interesting is that the old Looney Tunes used to be a lot of pop culture references, like real pop culture references, as much as like Family Guy. You don't think about it in that way, but old Looney Tunes they were always referencing whatever was in the zeitgeist at the time to get a cheap laugh, much like Family Guy does. And the idea is that, but the problem happens is that once you get too far away from it, you start to lose what that meaning was. So in Egyptian parlance, the idea of the alligator god and the hippo god, that carries a very different weight in ancient Egypt than in how our minds interpret the same symbols in this day and age. So it's an interesting aspect, and it's just an interesting aspect of Tauret.
Yeah, I mean, one would imagine perhaps the symbols would have shifted along with the minds of the people, right?
Well, yeah, but I guess in that structure, then you don't have the communication of how they're Tauret, And especially in the context that we're seeing them, because we're seeing them in the context of Mark and Stephen's minds, and in the context of Layla's mind, of these people who are baked in. So, quite frankly, if you weren't as committed to that philosophy and that mythology, I mean, they sort of even say it, that, that isn't exactly what you'll see.
Right.
But it's what Mark and it's what Layla, in many ways, expected to see.
Right.
And truly, I don't think we ever see what Layla sees. Because I don't think she ever sees Tauret as the hippo. We see Tauret.
She only hears Tauret, right?
Yeah, she only hears Tauret. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's another aspect of it where.
Right. And I also saw people were saying online that when Amit and Khonshu were fighting, that the citizens of Egypt didn't see anything because they weren't meant to see it.
No, but what they see is
destruction.
Yeah, they see the
destruction. But they don't see a giant alligator and a giant, and a giant bird skull guy fighting.
And what you think about is what they see is a giant sandstorm. It's something that there's these winds come up and it's blowing buses over, sand is happening, buildings are falling down, like that kind of real cosmic destruction, that happens in all over the world, like you have earthquakes in California, you have earthquakes in Egypt, you have great sandstorms in Egypt, you have wildfires in California. Like these things happen. These are a very central part of living your life. And that is in many ways how legends of gods get created, because suddenly there is this massive destruction that you can't see. And so it is only natural to say there must be some being that I can't see, but that has this power to cause this destruction. It's interesting that we get the one good guard, the one good police officer in this, I find. Because it's one of these questions where you have to ask, if he truly is a good man, would he go along with this?
Right. How did he end up in the company of so many bad men?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, but that I guess that is maybe the deeper moral that we sort of get in this is that as our story progresses, we see that Tauret maybe is not so worried about who balances. They're worried about who will serve Tauret in the way that she demands, because this is an because that is a scene we get in this when Harrow is meeting Tauret, and basically Harrow is like, I just want to live and serve you. I'm hoping that my scales have balanced enough, but I know, I accept your judgment of me if that is what's to happen. And she's like, no, you're fine. She's like, well, here, all of these members, all of their scales balance perfectly. Anyone will be a perfect avatar for you. And she's like, no, I want you. I don't care that your scales don't balance.
Or rather, moreover, that I want you because your scales don't balance. Because I tried with a balanced scaled avatar, and it did not serve me quite as well as I thought it would.
Well,
so let's try this.
Because at the end of the day, the question is do Amit's scales balance? And that's the thing. Ammit can judge everyone in the universe, but at a certain point, if your scales do balance, are you going to just say, yes, I can go along with this? And I think even to Harrow's point, I think when Harrow gets chosen, I think he starts to question. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but I think he also starts to question the
validity of the philosophy.
The validity of it, yeah. So moving into this, we have Stephen and Mark, who have sort of gotten their scales to balance, and then Mark is like, no, I have to go back for him. I have to go back for my brother. I'm not going to leave him in the sand. And he goes back, saves his other person. And it's actually really, I liked it. It was very beautiful. It was.
And it's also him saying, I don't want to lose that piece of me.
Right. You know, and that is, I mean, I really liked how they handled it. They had him do the whole thing. I love the fact that when Steven comes out of it, he doesn't remember what Mark's told him. But the doors to Osiris open and they get out, and they go to their body. And fortunately, by this time, you know, Layla has released the Khonshu statue, and I find it interesting that they come to, and they're in control now, and they're going to negotiate with Khonshu. And I like how they kind of just very easily slide between, because, well, if you think about it, they do not want to be taken advantage of again.
Right.
They do not want Khonshu bossing them around or telling them what to do. And in the end, he's like, fine. After this, we're done. We're good.
Yeah, but I mean, that just, to me, the most interesting part of this whole episode was how gullible humans can be, right? You paint them a nice little story and they'll just go along with it. Everybody's lying to them, but like, as long as you tell me you're not lying, you're fine. Like, you know, like when she says to Tared, oh yeah, I'll only be a temporary avatar. She's like, sure, temporary. Yeah, you're a human. You're going to die one day. So from now till then, it's temporary. I will have another avatar. The temporary word does not relate to your servitude. It relates to my experience of your servitude. My experience of your servitude will be limited by your mortality. Your servitude to me will be, in your eyes, pretty final. You know, so, and she's like, yeah, okay, good, let's go. And same thing with him. He's like, you're going to let me go, right? Oh, shucks, you got me. Good. All right. All's well and good. You know, it's like,
so here's the only thing I'll say about it. Yes, you're right. But I will also say there is an aspect to this where once you've had the power of an avatar, do you really want to just give it up? So it's like, even as much as you hate it, you're like, but, you know, being bulletproof should come in handy right now, you know?
Right.
And I think that's maybe the sort of deeper aspect of it that I think
so we don't perhaps not that Khonshu is being deceptive or conniving. It's just that he knows better. He's like, oh yeah, okay, go sleep it off, and I'll be here when you're ready to come back.
Yeah, and
I can see
along
that.
those, and along those lines, I think, you know, because that's always the thing with Ben Grimm. He wants to not be the thing anymore.
Right.
But he doesn't want to not be strong and invulnerable anymore. So it's like he can turn back human, but then he immediately regrets not being the thing. And it's like he has to go back to being the thing, which he hates, but also it's hard to walk away from all that, you know? And so I do think that is maybe the implication of all of this. We do have the flight to Cairo from the outskirts, which was pretty cool because I am still the master of the night sky. And that's pretty cool. And he goes up, and when I first saw that in the trailer, I was certain that was the Mooncopter, but it wasn't. It was just him going up with the crescent and flying like Superman, which is cool.
Yeah, it's surprising. A lot of things that would bother me in other pieces of entertainment didn't bother me here. Like when he goes up and he frames his crescent against the moon. It's the same thing that Tim Burton did in the original Batman, and I hated it then, but it didn't bother me as much here. It just felt like I guess I don't know why, but it didn't bother me.
Well, because I think it was less stylized, and this is I think where it pulls it off. It's like it is always presented as that world outside your window. Like when you go into Tim Burton's universe, it is Tim Burton's universe.
Right.
And so everything is in one way or another meticulously placed. Whereas this universe kind of just looks like they just shot on any set.
Right.
But then they will have things that are completely out of left field. But because it's framed within this other normalized world, you don't think much of it. Because that's just the way he went up, because that's what happened. You don't think of it in terms of, that's, and to be fair, compared to the bat signal, this was a little less subtle because it doesn't have an alternate meaning, Right. When he flies
No. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I just meant like not the bat signal, but there's a scene in the original Batman.
No, I know. When he flies the bat wing and he's framed by the moon.
Yeah.
And it looks like the bat signal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
really contrived. But yeah, you're right. Surrounded by so many other things that seem specifically contrived for that moment. You see it in a different light. I could see that.
Yeah, but in this case, when everything is probably still just as contrived, right, but you don't notice it as much, right, because it's subtle. It's a subtle contrivance, and that's what we get here. And we get Harrow's people just starting judging everyone. And it's also interesting in the fact that this judgment is literally just, a one by one thing. Like, it's not like Amit gestures maniacally and everyone falls over dead. Right. It's like, no, everyone, you have to do this on a one by one basis. Which is interesting because that, I guess, ties into the whole Alexander the Great idea and how Alexander the Great was able to both conquer many people and convert many people. That he could be both this charismatic leader that when he conquered a land, he then took that land over and integrated people from that land into his ruling cadre.
It's interesting because it's like, the gods can't operate on like the CIA can't operate on U.S. soil, right? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they need agents of theirs to go on, and sort of feeding into that whole idea of the gods' power only comes from their devotees. So only they can be the exactor of your vengeance.
Yes, exactly. We do get a purple laser beam into the sky, which, okay. It's, to be fair, we've gone several movies without a purple laser beam into the sky. So,
we were due?
What?
I guess we were due.
Yeah, I guess we were due. It's like, okay. We haven't done this shtick in a while, so we're ready for it. It's not like every movie has to have that laser beam into the sky. We just, we balance it, but we do get a purple laser beam. But of course, that leads to the Harrow Moon Knight fight. Interesting that Harrow doesn't have armor. That Amit doesn't give Harrow any kind of armor beyond the axe. Because of course, Tara makes a whole big point. It's like, oh, you'll love my armor. And we do get to see that armor in the Scarlet Scarab armor, which is cool. And I guess the name's growing on me.
What do you or do you think Harrow turned down the armor? Because he is a bit of a masochist, right? Or not but like self-flagellation for like the purposes of reprimanding yourself or punishing yourself. Yeah. So maybe he felt like, no, I'm going to do it as a pious, I'm going to earn my keep. I've done so much wrong that I deserve to try to do it without armor. That's how...
Well, I think on some level the armor is less like what it appears as. Again, it's like how the armor doesn't actually accomplish anything more than the power of being an avatar does. So you don't need the armor to be the avatar. It's just nice when you have, it's just that it makes you feel better, and it projects out to other people that you are this now special being. And I think for Harrow, it's like, I don't need to project anything.
Right.
And it is
maybe he had those
humility.
He had those powers anyway, but it didn't need to be shown.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's maybe what we're getting there. And, we get a good knockdown drag out with Harrow, his cult versus, Scarlet Scarab and Moon Knight. And it is interesting because we get another one of those blackout scenes where in the middle of the fight, Moon Knight just blacks out, and then he comes to and everything is just decimated.
Yeah, that's my one disappointment, that we never got to see the other side of these blackouts.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's sort of, it's a running gag, and I think like next season we'll get to see what happened in those.
I hope so, because if it just becomes a running gag that we never get to see it, that's not very cool.
Yeah. Well, because I think in this case it's meant to be this running gag because it's from the perspective of the other guy. It's like, right. What did you do? And then the next time it happened, it was like, what did you do? What do you mean? What did I do? I didn't do that. And this time it's like, that wasn't you, was it? No. And that's how they built up with their rule of three, so that when we get the big reveal at the end, we get what the reveal is. And speaking of armor, we'll discuss armor in that one too, because there is an armor of Khonshu for the third altar, and it's a freaking limousine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Oh wow, the car is his armor. That's the force of Khonshu. Which I mean, maybe it wouldn't appear as that in that scene. Although it would be kind of cool if just that's basically what happened. Just all of a sudden, this big limo just appears and runs everybody.
Or maybe he was just clever enough to ask for it. Like Khonshu gives you the your own choice in how you want the armor to represent itself. And because Stephen and assumably Mark was also very much into Egyptian mythology and Egyptian history, that's what he thought of immediately without thinking too hard. Now, this guy, on the other hand, thought about it for a second. He said, wait a second. Does it have to be an article of clothing, or can I make it something else? He's like, yeah, you know what? Since he's a taxi driver, the car I always wanted, right? I always had the yellow cab, but I always wished I was a limo driver. I always wished I had a stretch. So,
maybe, man. I mean, that's the idea, and to me, that would be both terrifying and hilarious. That when he blacks out, suddenly it's just this car barreling down the street, running everyone over.
Right. Oh, interesting. Yeah,
like an indestructible tank, and it's just like doing all kinds of crazy things you can't do in a limo, like driving up walls and smashing through things.
Wait a second, Khonshu, you didn't tell me I could have a Batmobile.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. It works for me, man. That's my theory on it. But they have incapacitated Harrow at the end of this. They take him back and Ahawat and Khonshu's avatars, they perform the ritual, they seal him into Harrow, and then Khonshu's like, now kill him, and they both will be gone forever. And that's when Mark and Stephen and Layla both say, no, we're not going to kill him. And but he is dangerous, and they will return. Well, we'll deal with him then. Classic superhero move. We'll deal with it then. But that's the thing. You have to have that moral compass. Otherwise, you just start killing babies. That's the thing. It's like, either you say, you know what, we are going to give everyone the choice.
Well, no, but here's why that's different, right? Somebody who hasn't done the thing yet, you can't prosecute them preemptively. But someone that has already caused a bunch of death, I don't think they deserve that same leniency to say, oh, but in the future you might not,
Well, but you see, and again, you can go into the idea that it's different for gods. That for the gods, gods kill lots of people,
That's what I'm saying. So, like,
and
for them, it doesn't seem worth it to save a person, right? If they haven't done anything yet, I can find the moral high ground in that. But like to bet on the salvation of a mass murderer, it's like let God sort him out. That's his job, leave us alone. Take him.
But I guess maybe the other point we can make, is that even the original Duat made the choice not to destroy Amit, because arguably they could have destroyed Amit. They could have sealed Amit within what's his name, Alexander the Great, and then killed out. If they really felt that Amit had to be removed off the table,
right,
they could have. But they knew we may need Amit someday.
Right. So it's not just Harrow. Like, because if it was just the decision of killing Harrow, I guess you could do that. But now you're talking about, like, okay, an Infinity Stone. It affects the balance of the nature of things.
Arguably, yeah. So that's it. Yeah, for all the good it does, because obviously we then wake up in we have, after Mark gets freed, he goes back into the dream world, confronts his Harrow, and then breaks free, and then he's back in his bed. Again, he's chained to his bed, which again is one of these weird things where it's like there's this time jump, there's this time skip, but no one's asking any questions. There's now 2 fish in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, they both were pretty agreeable to ignoring that rattling coffin and never talk about it, Yeah,
well, but that's the thing. And to be fair, that's what altars do. The altars are there to not face what we all know, which we see at the end, which, by the way, I do love the fact that apparently Oscar Isaac is speaking Spanish to the nurses and all of that. He's an Hispanic cab driver. What are you going to do? And he picks up Harrow, brings him back in, and I love Harrow in the back of the cab with Khonshu, who is wearing the Mr. Knight suit. Just to show that Khonshu, he can pick up some new threads here and there. And basically it's like I wanted either of them. Let me introduce you to my friend, Jake Lockley. And we get the little 3 shots from the pistol, and that's all she wrote. It was a good series. I really feel that. I'm really excited to see what they do with Moon Knight 2.
Yeah.
Because we are going to get a Moon Knight 2, I really think we're going to get a lot more of that. I think, Marvel isn't letting any of their little cash cows go anywhere.
No. And then this proved interesting enough to continue telling the story.
Oh, yeah.
Here's why I think maybe they do need Amit. Because he's been assigned, or she's been assigned as the bad guy, right? You need the bad guy to be the bad guy, because if there's no bad guy, it's pretty soon after that one of the good guys becomes the bad guy, right? So it's like if you look at the first season of The Walking Dead, right? There was the battle between good and evil, Rick versus Shane. And Shane was the bad guy, Rick was the good guy. And Rick was good at being the good guy because there was a bad guy there to reflect off of. The minute they killed Shane, there was no counterbalance, and Rick didn't know what to do with himself, and he turned crazier and crazier and crazier until eventually you didn't know if he was good or bad. So you need that counterbalancing force there. So if they get rid of Amit, what happens? Eventually that energy needs to manifest, and someone else is going to be corrupted. So maybe that's why they need it there. Yeah.
Although I guess now Amit's gone, so we have to see what happens.
Is it though, or?
Well, Amit. Clearly, Jake killed Harrow, and they said if you kill Harrow, well, Amit is bound to him.
Right.
That would kill him. And of course, the idea in that also is that that the reason why Harrow's in the psych ward there is because when you have a god inside your head, it drives you crazy.
So what if, yeah, right. So what if, just like when Mark got shot, just same way, said pop, 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 right? He fell into the water and came back. So who knows if Harrow's really dead? Maybe he's in his own little mental ward and he's seeing Mark or Jake as his therapist. That'd be fun to see.
Anything is possible. Well, it will be interesting to see what they do next. I mean, we'll see where it goes. There's a lot of history. There's going to be the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. So maybe that's where Moon Knight shows up again next. We're going to have to see. But I enjoyed it. I was very excited about it. And I think it was well worth our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I tell you, I enjoyed it more than Multiverse of Madness.
Yes. I can believe that because you really did not like Multiverse of Madness.
No, I thought it was silly and a waste of my time.
Not every film is for every person. Here's what I'm going to say. I mean, literally, here's what I'm going to say. I honestly feel that film was written just for me. And my evidence of that is that there's a character in it named Charlie who marries Christine Palmer, and he's obsessed with superheroes. It's like, you know what? Hey. I think I'm being called out here. But he got the girl, so what are you gonna do?
Hey, all's well that ends well.
Yeah, so that's why it works for me. So, but it's not for everybody. Not every film is for every person. This is what I've come to understand as I go throughout the board. It's like not everything is for everyone. A lot of people don't like a lot of things. That's okay. Watch what you like instead. Mozz, if people would like to tell you what they like, and you can tell them what you like as well, or what you both dislike, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to the whole Capes and Lunatics gang here at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's Capes and Lunatics, all spelled out one word, at gmail.com. Or you can call us and leave us a voicemail, as the great Mozz Manzor did recently for his review of Multiverse of Madness. Scroll down to see that at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And, of course, you can always go over to Linktree. That's linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics and see all of our merch, like delightful aluminum mugs, which you can't even see because it's falling into my background, T-shirts, and our Patreon, where you can give us money to get secret content like topless movie reviews and the worst superhero movie of all time brackets. This week, or this month, Batman and Robin versus, I believe, Batman Forever. So, that's going to be good.
Are we going to throw a Multiverse of Madness into the mix in there somewhere?
It kind of came out after the deadline. And
how convenient.
I'm going to be honest with you, Mozz. Look.
I don't think it was the worst, but I think it deserves to be up there. I think it deserves to at least be.
Here's what I'll say. We really wanted this to be, quantifiably worse films, like ones where we can all agree. And, like I said, there's some of these where, there's some that you can be a fan of, like Superman 3. I'm a huge fan of Superman 3. Superman 4. Lilith is a huge fan of Superman 4. These films can be in there. They can be in that fight. But, at the same time, you have to say, is it as universal? And, we don't know yet how Multiverse of Madness is going to age. So, but maybe by next year, if we do this all again, they may make the cut. So, all right, friends. If you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way, make your argument for why Multiverse of Madness is, in fact, the worst movie of all time, or why you liked it too. Write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things. But sadly, no longer Naomi. It had its final episode, and it is done. And like an old fat Brutus being knocked down by a little girl, it is ended. But follow me on Twitter as I live tweet other things at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties. You have come across the sea of sand to the final episode of Moon Knight. Tune in next week when we'll once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.